So check it, most of the subjects that we failed back then, they were subjects that we did not like the teachers. All right. So if I don't like you, it will be tough, all right, for me to listen to you. I'll probably be disconnected from your class. So you see that a lot of people who are in our colleges of education really don't want to be there. They are there because life, in quote, has pushed them there. They didn't meet the cutoff. So let's even say that the out of school children are back to the classroom. Who are the teachers? Where are the teachers that will teach them?
Hello, beautiful people. It's a brand new episode of the Good News Ninja podcast. My name is Desmond Ebwekunwe. Today, we're speaking about a topic I really love because there was a point in my life where I was very, very intrigued and interested about the teaching profession. I'll still go into it because I do think that there's such a gap in the industry and we need to invest in the education and maybe rethink the model and have more specialized educational systems. But I'm not a professional. We have a special guest today on the podcast, a teacher who's creating platforms for other teachers and bringing in the stakeholders, bringing in government consultants, all the different people in the ecosystem to drive a path forward to better our educational systems. And I rate it like mad. Do enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the Good News Ninja podcast. And thank you for all the great things you've been doing for teachers with your platform. I want to start this conversation by truly understanding your why, because I remember when I was serving in 2016, and then I was first posted alongside my friends to a secondary school to become a teacher, and six of seven of us rejected it and went on to look for other placements. But then just one of us ended up doing it, and that was because they were even in another. They decided to stay in the remote community while we moved to the city. Behind the camera, we're talking about you being a teacher. Why did you decide to be a teacher?
All right, I decided to be a teacher because many years ago, a teacher changed the story for me. I was in primary 6 in a particular school, and then there was a need to move me to another school. So by the time I got to this new primary school, I was stepped down by a year to primary 5. And interestingly, this new school was the school I had my first encounter with English language. So I couldn't speak English. So if I needed to communicate with my teachers because they were not speaking English, this was a nursery and primary school. I was in a public school before. And so how I was communicating with these teachers was for me to write what I wanted to say on a paper. No, I'll speak to a friend. I'll speak to a friend will write on a paper for me, and then I will give it to the teacher. And then somehow a new school evolved. Then a new school was set up, and I wrote the exam, and I don't know how, but I passed. And I went to this new school, and that's where the story changed. I met my teacher, Mr. Fasunloro, and he picked a particular interest in me, and somehow I honestly cannot go back to how I started to speak English, all right? But what I can say for sure is that Mr. Fasuloro, my English teacher, supported me, all right? Gave me all of the support, gave me all of the help. And when it was time for me to go to the university, I didn't think twice. I read English. So I'm a trained teacher. I studied English education. And after our youth service, I started teaching. I didn't look for any other job other than the teaching job because that's what I want to do. And fast forward 2025, we're here.
Do you think that a lot of the pushback from this generation, people my age and even people younger, from the teaching profession comes from some of the traumas we faced as younger people. I mean, now with teachers like you who revised how pupils and students should be treated in school, it's way different. But back then in secondary school, I know that okay, the maths teacher no go. The home economics teacher is loved. French teacher, amazing. Then social studies, not so much like that. You always had like different opinions about your teacher, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to be this person because this person made me feel this type of way. But how has that evolved now?
So that still happens even now. But like you said, it's changing. Things are changing every day, right? What many teachers didn't realize then was simple. Teaching is relationship, right? I normally would say that you're not a teacher because of the subject that you teach. So I'm not a teacher because I teach English language. I'm a teacher because I have the capacity to illuminate the mind, inspire change, and transform generations. So, teaching is not about the subject. If your students do not accept your person, they can't accept the information that you're bringing. All right. So, checking most of the subjects that we failed back then, they were subjects that we did not like the teachers. All right. So, if I don't like you, it would be tough, all right, for me to listen to you. I'll probably be disconnected from your class. And so, what I think happened back then was that not many teachers understood the power of relationships when it comes to teaching. And it wasn't just about teachers, it was also about our parents. Remember, our parents, the gap between us and our parents are usually very, very wide because I remember once my dad got back home and, there's a particular way you will hung. Once you hear that, you disappear. All right. So it wasn't just about teachers, it was about how older people related with younger people then. And I think things are changing right now because I don't relate that with my children today because my boys, even when I say I want to travel, they're like, Daddy, why are you traveling? Do you understand? So that has also impacted the teaching profession such that we now have a new generation of teachers who understands that it is first about you, it is first about your person, how you carry yourself, how you make you accessible to your students. Because if you're not accessible, your students cannot access whatever information that you're bringing.
But do you think teachers get their flowers?
No, I don't think so.
Why do you think so?
I don't think so. There's a lot that needs to be done, and that's why a lot of us are now coming up to speak up to say, no, we deserve to be treated better, right? The teaching profession is the only profession that produces all other professions, all others, right? And somehow societal perceptions, the way people related or relate with teachers, personally, it's not something that I think is the best. And I give you an example. Many years ago, when I didn't grow up in Lagos, all right, and then when I got to Lagos, I met a few people, and then people who could help you get jobs, and we're like, so what would you? I mean, they wanted to find out what, and I said, I would love to work in a school. I would love to be a teacher. Just the responses, you will know that people will be wondering. I got varieties of responses, of reactions. Some were like, for instance, my pastor was like, seriously, thank you, because with people like you, there is hope. And then some other people will tell you, are you sure you have a future for your family? Because how do you want to take care of your family with the path that you want to follow, right? But today, even though it wasn't very, very easy, but then today the story has changed. So I don't think teachers get the flowers they deserve. We don't get the recognition that we deserve. Things are changing anyway because there is a lot of awareness right now. There's a lot of people speaking up. There are loads of people saying, social media has helped us a lot. So we are able to speak out, and we're able to we're easily heard, right? And I think that's what is changing it. But really, we don't get the kind of attention that we really deserve. So in recent times, in say in the last 5 years, you now see organizations coming up to support teachers. You now see state governments give cars, give financial cash rewards. So that is happening right now, but it is not enough.
That was supposed to be my next question, to be like, is that enough? Because
Now,
in a world where content creators now earning in the millions, it's very tricky to now be like, oh, I want to be teachers, because it now feels like the teaching profession is something that you do out of the need to serve for a period, and then you move on to do other things in your life so that you can have a bigger life. But do you agree that that's the way people look at teaching, or how can we change that mindset? Because I see a lot of people say, okay, maybe I would truly teach in my NYC year, or maybe when I'm in university. I know a lot of people who were helping out in university, and they were teaching in secondary schools, they're teaching in community schools during the holidays, but they come out, they have to face the real tune of money. And then you have to now make a decision. Do you think would ever get to the point where you can now really pick?
okay, so until the value that you put on something determines how people will respond to that. Until we place so much value on education, and by extension teachers or the teaching profession, this we might be here for a long time. We must make it as a matter of urgency and as a matter of necessity. Pay teachers well. Why why do we have a lot of people trying going into politics today? Because to some extent politics is good business. I mean, all of us, we want better welfare. So we must pay teachers well. If we don't pay teachers well, it's not going to work. And coming back to what you said, the truth is the teaching profession has become the last resort, right? In political powers, it's a placeholder, right? So, and a placeholder in different way, in 2 to 3 ways. Number one, you wanted to go to the university and you didn't get a kind of job you wanted. They push you to faculty of education, or you didn't meet cutoff. And these are the things I've said over a period of time. You didn't meet the cutoff you wanted. JAMB will bring out cutoff, 200 university, 150 polytechnic, and then 100 college of education. So that alone is disheartening, all right? So you see that a lot of people who are in our colleges of education really don't want to be there. They are there because life, in quote, has pushed them there. They didn't meet the cutoff. Or those in the faculties of education studying whatever course, maybe biology, they didn't meet. It's usually the case where you applied for English art, you didn't meet cutoff. They probably give you English education. All right. So that has been the case. That's for the entry level. If you go to the labor force, it's the workforce, right? The same thing. You wanted a job in a particular place and you can't get it. People will normally advise you, why don't you go and teach? At least have something to hold body, in quotes. So that's the case. So a lot of teachers are in our classrooms not because they really do want to be there. They don't want to be there, but they have to, provide for their families. So, and it's more or less one of the easiest thing to do. And to make matters worse, because there are no what's the word now? All right, standards around who comes to teach. All right, anybody can anybody can just walk into a classroom and teach, unlike other professions where if you don't have a particular certification or qualifications, you can't be there, right? But for the profession, it's a different thing. Whether you have the qualification or not, as long as you can speak English and then you can read and write, they just push you, they just put you to the classroom and you're teaching. You've become a teacher. So all of these things have become part of the problems with the teaching profession. So yes, the profession has become the last resort, for many people.
So, which is why it was very intriguing to me that you were convening an event this big, which is the largest gathering of teachers in the world, and for the Guinness World Record. I think there were about 60,000 teachers.
And no, not that we didn't meet up with 60,000, but we had a lot of teachers, almost 20,000 teachers.
Okay.
For logistics reasons, which but we didn't get the 60,000 benchmark.
Okay. 20,000 even is a lot of teachers. So for me, it was the ambition of that. In my head, I'm like, where are these teachers? Where are they going to come out from? And do some of these people, I know somebody who currently who is currently a teacher in a school, but she doesn't see herself as a teacher. She sees herself as just, okay, I'm still looking for a job. I'm applying for that bank job, but then I'm just doing this just for the now. So she doesn't see herself as a teacher. And that's the case with a lot of people. So how difficult was it for you convening these people and also instilling that? Because those people, there was a spotlight on these teachers across the world to finally say, you guys are doing something great. We are showing you, the world needs to see that these teachers exist and then these teachers are doing great stuff. How important was that for you?
So it was important to spotlight the profession, and that was the goal, or that's the goal of that conference. And I think your question is it's in two ways. How we're able to mobilize. So basically, we just wanted to create a platform where teachers themselves can see that until you carry yourself in a particular way, help is not coming from anywhere. Right. I understand, I understand over a period of time that, and I work with this philosophy that I don't know who said it, but that's what I live by. It says values and institutions are not given to us by God or handed over to us by nature. If they don't suit our purposes, we have the right to change them. All right. Invariably, what that means to me is that we're here, and this is the way people see us, and it is not their fault that they see us that way. But we must now shouldn't remain like that. We must now begin to change the narratives by ourselves. So that platform was a platform where we were able to reach out to many teachers to say, can we come together? All right, let's begin to come together and speak with one voice. Let's begin to come together and push out a narrative that we want people to see about us, or the narrative that we want people to, how we want people to perceive us. That was the message that we were pushing, that was the narrative we were pushing out. And to a large extent, a lot of teachers identified with that vision. They identified with the fact that, oh yeah, at least we have someone who is maybe bold enough to stand up or to stand out. And that's the goal of this. It is for many other teachers to also stand up, because we cannot be limited by the four walls of the classroom. And so basically the message that we pushed out was a message of teachers. This is our time for us to begin to create a new perception for the world. And they identified with that and they joined the movement.
With these 20,000 teachers in the room, what's one thing that you think that if all the teachers in the room would pick one thing to be changed in the system, for collective good, for everyone's collective good, regardless of if this person is in a maybe very upscale school or this person's in a public school, what's one thing that you think should be fixed for teachers?
It's the pay, right? And I think I mentioned that when I was talking. The pay has to commensurate the work that we do. The work of teachers begins and ends at home. I don't even understand. So when other people go, well, a lot of people can go to work, do your 8 to 5 p.m. and then you shut down. Once you get home, you're home for your family. But that's not what it is for teachers. You start from the home. At home you will have to prepare lesson notes, you will have to do a lot of things, and then you only go to the class to deliver. If you have not prepared for that at home, you will not, it won't work. And then you still come back home to continue the work, right? So we need to be paid, all right? And one major thing that can fix all of these problems is, first off, by paying teachers very well, all right? Few governors are trying, right? But like I said, it is not enough. We need to come to a place where, whether you're a public school teacher or you're a private school teacher, you can at least boast of something very significant. All right. So we need to regulate payments across board. I can't tell you how poorly paid some teachers in private schools are being paid terribly. I mean, as terrible as 20,000, 30,000 in some schools. Right? How do you survive? How does a teacher survive with 30,000 naira in 2025? Right? It's ridiculous. The minimum wage. I don't want to go into a lot of things, but the truth is, if there is one thing that needs to change, it is that teachers need to be paid well, if not the highest, right? But at least we should be able to boast of something that will, they say that your what's it called? Your pay should take you or something like that. So we want teachers to be paid well.
Okay. And I do think if teachers are paid well, the quality of education right now would also go up, because there's also reports and research that states that the quality of education has been on the decline over the years and all of that. So do you think that, first, if the question of pay is addressed, it would improve the quality of education? And then also, if a system is put in place to somewhat check the easy access of teachers getting into the profession, so that you see the people who really want to be there, you see people who are really ready to give their 1,000, be there, be one of the ways to fix the quality of education now.
When we increase the pay, by implication, it will pull a lot of people to want to be there. All right. So that in itself is a good thing, because with that we can now begin to select, right? But right now we don't even though, even those that are there, they're not even enough. All right. I don't know what the data is right now, but I think it's way around 20 million out of school children. Right. And even the number of teachers that we have cannot even attend to the students that we have. So let's even say that the out of school children are back to the classroom. Who are the teachers? Where are the teachers that will teach them? All right. So the point is, if you increase the pay, people want to go there to teach, and then you can begin to now select to say, no, we don't want. So you can increase entry level. Do you understand? So it's easier to increase the entry level to say, no, we want X, Y, we want, for instance, instead of saying people that students with 100 cutoff should go to College of Education, it's easier to increase at that time, because the same thing that happens with medicine, same thing that happens with law, will happen with all of the teaching courses, because right now you have a lot of people wanting to be there. And so number one, so you can get the best, and then you can get more people that will want to be there. So yes, the pay doesn't necessarily solve all of the problems, but it's a starting point. There are other things that we're using that word record to achieve. So number one is we're asking the federal government to increase budgetary allocation to education, and by implication, teachers, or by extension rather, because we're far way below UNESCO requirement for budgetary allocation for education. Way below. I think we're around 7% thereabouts. So we're asking the federal government to increase that allocation to education. Number two, we're saying that when it comes to curriculum design or redesign, we want teachers to be involved. Now, the curriculum is another major problem that we need to look into as a nation. The curriculum is it's a document. Those who who translate the curriculum into realities are teachers. And so when you want to design curriculum or redesign it, as the case may be, teachers have to be there, because we know what happens in a classroom. We know, we've been around the classroom. We know what it should be there. So number three, we're saying that, and this I say with discretionary, all right? It's really unfortunate that not many leaders of education have education background. All right.
How do you
And that's a major problem. Someone who is not a lawyer can never be an attorney general of this country. Somebody who is not a doctor can never be a minister of health. All right. But when it comes to minister of education, commissioner for education, they give us anybody. And that's a factor. It is who wears the shoe that knows where it pinches. So if you have never been around education, and we're not necessarily saying a teacher must be a minister of education, but we're saying that at least let whoever is going to lead education agencies should have education background. For instance, someone who owns a school, who has run a school for 5 years or 10 years, if that person becomes a minister of education, you can tell what the person will do, because he has been able to run a school for a number of years. So he understands the challenges around teachers, around learners, around curriculum, around the policies of education. So it's easier for him or her to come up with policies that would change education. But someone who had no background in education, no clue about education, you then make the person to lead education agency. It doesn't fit. All right. So we are advocating that education leadership must be by educators. So we're using the word educator so that we're not streamlining it to being a teacher, right? So that in itself is something that would help education. So you're able to make policies that will reflect in the classroom. And then and another thing is we're asking that I've talked about entry level, right? At the very least, give teachers public holiday. So those are some of the things that we're using this platform to advocate at the federal level.
Okay, I hear you, and there's something. So when you're speaking about policy, I just also remembered how easy it was for a policy change or a government change to somewhat switch. Because I was having a conversation with one of my aunties who's a teacher in Benin City, and they've been using computerized what's it called? Lesson notes. Everything was computerized, and then everything was just changed. Now they have to do everything in paper. So it's just
They are the best program.
yes.
Okay.
It feels like the steps back from what was from the previous administration, but then that's a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah.
So it worries me that how policy and how the ego of sometimes of maybe people in government can also impact the teaching profession.
So in the case of the Edo State that you mentioned, the previous when the Edo Best program was introduced, the commissioner at the time who introduced the Edo Best program was somebody who was into education. And that's usually the difference, all right? That's usually the difference. But let's not go into let's not get messed up in the politics of things, all right? But you can see that when you have people who have been around the covers of education, they know what to do. So it's easier to just begin to implement. And that's what we're really saying, that we want those who are knowledgeable, even if the person is not performing, right? We can call the person back to say, we can recall that those are the things that we're trying to advocate. So that we have the problems are huge, right? But we'll begin to see what we can do one step at a time. But things have also gone this bad because a lot of us have also kept quiet. For instance, have you ever heard that the Nigerian teachers went on strike? It has never happened. And we're not saying it should happen, all right? But my point is, we have not been speaking up, all right? We've just been accepting everything. So now, I think I was on one.
That used to be a thing back in the day, the Nigerian Union of Teachers.
Yeah.
It used to have such a stronghold.
But we don't know what, we don't know, we don't want to undermine what they're doing, because we don't know what they're doing internally to engage. And thankfully, NUT was a major part of the conference. We acknowledge their support. And so so one of the next steps is to now fully engage NUT leadership to say, we appreciate what you've been doing you've been here for many years, all right? How can we be a part of what you're doing, all right, to amplify the teachers' voices? Because what we need right now is to begin to amplify our voices, and you already have a structure, right? But we really cannot see the effect of what you're doing. And like I said, it's not as if they're not doing anything, and I'm being very careful what we want. So it's not as if they're not doing anything, but we don't know what they're doing. We can't tell. So we want to now engage SARS, our MAS, the leadership. Let's come together. Let's bring the old and the new together, and let's see how best we can get results. Ultimately, we're looking for results.
Is that what you want the legacy of the conference and the world record to be?
That's actually what it is. That's what we're pushing. That's what we're pushing. So the Led with Teachers Conference is what I call a tripartite discourse, where it didn't start at, there was the Guinness World Record was a platform, was a global platform. So we had it in 2023 in Abuja, and the idea was to have like a tripartite discourse where we invited the policymakers, those who will change, those who have the responsibility to change policies. We invited them. And then those who know what to do, those who have idea, so the consultants, the specialists, those in the private sector, right, who have done research, who know what should be done. We invited them, and then the teachers. So you have the teachers, you have the government, and you have the consultant and the specialist to sit and discuss across board. How can we chart the way forward for education? That's how it started, all right? And then this year we took it a step further. And so, like I mentioned to you, I call it the Teaching Profession Transformative Agenda, all right? So we have 5. Developed a communique, and then we're engaging the national. By very soon, we'll go to National Assembly, drop the communique, Federal Ministry of Education, TRCN, NLDC, JAMP, all the relevant stakeholders. We will drop the communique there to engage them, not just to drop, to engage them about how there will be a change or maybe a response to some of our asks, and we hope that we will get a response. But so the legacy of the conference is to engage, and it is for a policy reform. It is not for the jamboree. It is for a reform. But we needed a voice. We needed a movement. We needed a platform. We needed the numbers. right? We needed the numbers, and at least we do have the numbers. We have a lot of teachers speaking up right now. So now that we have that number, that platform, so we're leveraging on the platform to engage.
All right, fantastic. That's such a good place to end this. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Do you know when the world record will be out, the plaque and all of this?
It's out already. It's been confirmed by Guinness World Record already. It's on their website. We're engaging them just so that maybe they will post on their socials. But it's been confirmed. They sent me a screenshot of the certificate, which we've shared, but the physical original certificate will arrive probably tomorrow or Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And wishing you all the best. I really hope that teaching finds its way to me sometime in the future. I really want to do it. I really want to own a school. It's one of my future goals, but I have to have my own certain...
No, not a problem. I believe by the time you want to start, you will have teachers that will be readily available to work with you.
Yes. I'm looking at creating something in media and film, but
Awesome.
very specific. Well, yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure being here, and thank you so much for what you do.
We understand that you're doing great work, and which is why we have two partners who support the work we do at the Good News Niger podcast and would like to give you a gift from them. So the first gift is from Charles Steady. Thank you so much. And then we have this from Linkage Assurance PLC.
All right. Thank you so much for
being a part of this. What a great and grounded conversation I had with Mr. Seyi Anifowose, who has the Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of teachers in the world. You can tell where his heart is. You can tell that he's very pained at the situation and the plight of many teachers. He wants more people to get into the industry so that we can fix the out of school children situation. We did speak about that. And yeah, as a people, I do think that we need to put our hearts in the right places, and which is why we do the Good News Niger podcast. And one way you can support us is by following us across all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and any other social media platforms. If it's a social media platform, we are on there. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel anywhere you listen to a podcast. And check our website at thegoodnewsnigerpodcast.com. My name is Desmond Ever. See you on the next one.